Only 170 pieces in the world, and one ended up on Jay-Z's wrist before most collectors even realized this watch was real. A Tiffany blue Patek Philippe Nautilus, so rare that one piece sold for more than $6.5 million at auction. And the craziest part is that this watch was never even supposed to happen in the first place. So stick around with us, because behind this blue dial sits one of the wildest stories in modern luxury history. And when Jay-Z wore it publicly, the hype just became something much bigger. So let's have a look. Now, before we explore why this watch became such a massive hit, let's first understand what makes this Nautilus so special. This is the Patek Philippe Nautilus 5711 1A018 Tiffany & Co edition, released in 2021 as part of the 170-year partnership between Patek Philippe and Tiffany & Co. The case is made entirely from stainless steel, measuring 40mm across with the classic Nautilus profile designed by Gerald Genta decades ago. The bezel has that soft, rounded octagon shape collectors instantly recognize. At the same time, the integrated bracelet flows seamlessly into the case, giving the entire watch that clean, uninterrupted silhouette the Nautilus is famous for. And honestly, that's where the confusion starts for most people, because nothing here looks loud enough to justify the insanity surrounding it. No diamonds are covering the case, no rainbow sapphires, no giant tourbillon spinning in the center. At first glance, it almost feels understated, but the second your eyes land on the dial, everything changes. That Tiffany blue instantly pulls attention, not because it's flashy, because it shouldn't exist on a modern Patek Philippe Nautilus. Printed right above the 6 o'clock marker sits the Tiffany & Co signature, something that almost never happens on modern Patek dials outside of extremely special collaborations. The moment collectors saw that logo paired with the Tiffany blue color, they already understood this was going to become historic. Inside the watch sits the caliber 26330 SC automatic movement, visible through the sapphire caseback. Around 45 hours of power reserve, central seconds, date display, and finishing that meet the extremely high standards Patek Philippe is known for. Technically, it's not the most complicated movement they've ever built, but that was never the point of this watch, because this piece was never about complexity, it was about timing and perfection. And this is where things start becoming almost unbelievable. By the time this watch was announced, the Nautilus 5711 had already become the single most hyped stainless steel watch in the world. Waiting lists stretched for years. Authorized dealers cannot control demand anymore. Secondary market prices were exploding every few months. Celebrities, athletes, hedge fund managers, rappers, everyone wanted one. Then Patek Philippe decided to kill it, which is exactly why nobody expected this Tiffany version to appear afterward. And once people realized only 170 pieces would ever exist, the market completely lost control. But to really understand why Jay-Z owning this watch matters so much, you first need to understand why this release shocked the entire watch industry. By early 2021, most collectors had already accepted that the Nautilus 5711 story was over. Patek Philippe officially announced they were discontinuing the model, and honestly, the decision made sense. The hype surrounding the watch had become almost impossible to manage. People were buying them at retail and flipping them instantly for ridiculous profits. The secondary market became completely detached from reality. A stainless steel sports watch that originally retailed for tens of thousands was suddenly trading for hundreds of thousands overnight. And the craziest part, the demand only kept growing. Then suddenly, this appeared. A Tiffany blue Nautilus with Tiffany & Co. branding printed directly onto the dial with only 170 pieces worldwide. And immediately, the entire watch world froze. Because this wasn't just another limited edition release. This felt like something much bigger. It felt like the impossible had happened one final time. And honestly, this is what makes luxury watches so fascinating. Because eventually, they become a symbol of access and influence. So if you're enjoying this breakdown so far, make sure to subscribe to our channel, because some of these celebrity watch stories get even crazier. But then came the moment that pushed this watch completely beyond normal collector culture. After Jay-Z wore it, everything instantly changed. The day Jay-Z appeared wearing the Tiffany blue Nautilus publicly, the watch stopped being just a rare Patek Philippe and became a full cultural event. He was spotted at Newhouse Hollywood screening of The Harder They Fall, wearing the hype piece of the year, the Tiffany blue dialed Patek Philippe 5711 Nautilus. But how come Jay-Z got his hands on one of the 170 unique pieces in the world? To answer that, we have to go back to September 2021, when Jay-Z and his wife Beyonce starred in an advert for Tiffany's diamond collection. It was called About Love. love and celebrated their marriage, relationship, and longing to be together. It was no surprise then that a month later, it was announced that both had become Tiffany & Co. brand ambassadors. The campaign was so successful that it was followed up by another advert called Date Night, where daughter Blue Ivy crashes the party. So that's how Jay-Z got obsessed with this masterpiece. To most ordinary people, this looks like a simple blue watch, but inside high-level luxury circles, this was probably one of the hardest watches on earth to obtain at that moment. Yet somehow, Jay-Z already had one sitting casually on his wrist. And once Jay-Z was spotted wearing it, those images hit the internet and the reaction was instant. Instagram pages reposted it everywhere, watch forums exploded, collectors zoomed in on paparazzi photos trying to confirm whether it was real. The conversation spread far beyond watch enthusiasts because now the piece had crossed into celebrity culture, hip-hop culture, fashion culture, and luxury culture all at the same time. And this is where things get really interesting. Jay-Z wearing the watch actually changed how people emotionally viewed it. Before him, it was already rare. But after Jay-Z wore it, the watch gained another layer entirely. It became attached to his aura, his influence, and his reputation for operating at levels most people cannot even access. This is how luxury works at the highest level. Sometimes the object itself is only part of the equation. The person connected to it becomes equally important. And honestly, Jay-Z understood that dynamic long before most celebrities did. Because if you look at his entire relationship with watches, there's a very clear pattern hidden underneath all the wealth and exclusivity. Out of all the people in the world who could realistically own this watch, Jay-Z honestly makes more sense than almost anyone else. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. If we take a closer look, Jay-Z has a habit of doing ridiculous things with watches. There was the $2.2 million Patek Philippe Grandmaster Chime reference 6300G that he wore to the 2026 Met Gala, one of the most complicated wristwatches ever produced. Oh, and don't forget the ultra-rare Rolex Daytonas he sent out as party invites in 2019. Yeah, those were fantastic. In fact, Jay-Z's entire career has been built around transformation. From Brooklyn hustler to rap icon, from rap icon to billionaire businessman, from loud displays of wealth in the early 2000s to a much quieter, more calculated version of luxury later on. And you can actually see that transition reflected in the watches he wears. Earlier eras were dominated by obvious flex pieces, heavy diamonds, oversized designs, full visibility. The goal was to make sure everyone knew how expensive the watch was the second it entered the room. And that's exactly what the Tiffany Blue Nautilus represents. And once the market realized the watch had become attached to someone like Jay-Z, the mythology surrounding it only grew bigger. But then came the auction that pushed the entire story into another universe completely. In December 2021, a Tiffany & Co. Nautilus broke all records when it sold at a Philips auction for more than $6.5 million. But surprisingly, it was sold at a charity sale for the Nature Conservancy, and it was a 171 piece set in that coveted list. And suddenly, even people outside the watch industry started paying attention, because this number made absolutely no sense on paper. This was still a stainless steel sports watch, no diamonds, no ultra complicated movement, no ancient royal history is attached to the specific piece. Yet somehow the price exploded into territory usually reserved for the rarest watches ever created. And honestly, that auction revealed something massive about modern luxury culture. The value was no longer coming purely from materials or engineering. Think about everything surrounding this watch at the same time. The discontinuation of the Nautilus, the Tiffany partnership, the 170-piece limitation, social media hype, and even Jay-Z's visibility. Everything stacked together simultaneously. And once that auction crossed $6.5 million, the Tiffany Blue 5711 stopped functioning like a normal watch entirely. It became a symbol for an era where celebrity, luxury, and internet attention merged into one object. But here's the craziest part of all. Despite all the hype, the watch itself never changed physically. What changed was the story surrounding it. That story became so powerful that people started viewing the watch almost like a cultural artifact instead of a product. And once that happens in luxury, prices stop behaving rationally. And the Tiffany Blue Nautilus may be one of the clearest examples of that in modern watch history. And that's what makes Jay-Z's Tiffany Blue Nautilus so fascinating. On paper, it should not be a $6.5 million watch. But the moment Patek Philippe, Tiffany & Co. and Jay-Z all collided together, the watch became a status symbol. And honestly, this is just one piece inside Jay-Z's collection, because some of the other watches he owns are even more unbelievable than this one. So if you want to see those next, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay locked in.